everyone, how are you? Welcome to Candid Conversations. My name is Kendi Karaoke. Nakama kawa, I'm so excited to have you guys on board here. Thank you so much for finding time to tune in. This means a lot to me. And I am hoping and praying that as we continue to grow, I'm seeing the family is growing by day. And I totally appreciate the new subscribers. Karibuni sana. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. This means a lot to me, and I'm really excited. I'm looking at, a great and better days ahead, that where God is taking us. And I'm so excited to have yet another episode of beautiful conversations. We normally say in this space, we just talk candidly, no filters, we just put things as they are. And at the end of the day, it's my desire that every conversation, single conversations that we have here, becomes a blessing to someone in one way or the other. So today, I'd want to talk about, a couple of times I've been asked, how did you guys meet? When people meet me together with my husband, they ask us, how did we meet? I've had many people ask me this question, and I thought it would be a great idea to just talk about it. And this is a dear story to me. That's why I decided to just make it a very casual discussion, so that I get to really touch on, those deep issues that of how we met and how I came to know he is the one, because that's another question that is normally posed to me. How did you know he is the one? So for those of us who are new in this space, I know you could have not watched other previous videos. Please watch through there's an episode I did some time back, and I talked about how we used to work with my husband in the same organization. And basically it's good for you to just have an history of where I'm coming from, so that you're able to connect to this story as well. So when I finished my undergraduate coursework, of course, as part of the course requirements, you're required to proceed on internship, so that you're able to really, meet the requirements for you to graduate. And as I'd mentioned, I have shared the story of how I got the internship, so I don't want to go back to that. I just want to go straight to how I met Mr. Right, my Mr. Right. So when I got the internship, the first day I reported to work, and I was excited, at the same time very nervous, very anxious. I didn't know what to expect, of course. I was this young girl, I would say I was timid in a way. I had little experience on, the workspace and how things run and all of that. So when I reported to work the first day, I went to the senior most boss's office. That's the chief accountant's office. And he made a phone call and called someone and told him to come over, so that he's able to hand over, the new person to him. And as I was seated there, of course, so much was going through my mind. I was wondering who this person is, who is going to be my immediate supervisor, because they told me that the person who would be my immediate supervisor, and I'll be reporting to him. So when I was just seated there, a gentleman walks in, and guess who this gentleman is? Oh, this was Kenny. He gets in, and the boss, the chief accountant, was our senior most boss, introduced me to him, and he was like, make sure that you expose her to any information that will be beneficial for her. She's here to learn. And I was told that I would be reporting to him. So that was not the first day I saw him. I had seen him before because, of course, as I had mentioned, I was a student in the same university. So, of course, I used to come to the finance department to either clear for exams or register for a new trimester. So, and him used to work in the revenue department. So we had interactions, but I don't think he remembered me because we are many students. But me, I had seen that this is not a new face. I had seen him before, and I remember the first time I saw him, and was one time I was, I think, clearing for exams, and I just thought to myself, this is just a kind guy. I mean, he was soft-spoken, he was this kind person, always willing to assist. And yeah, what just came into my mind was, one, this is such a kind guy. I mean, and then again, I likened him to my brother. And up to date, actually, people think that they're blood related. They actually think my husband and my brother are blood brothers because they have some sort of resemblance. They sort of look the same. So I didn't really pay attention to this time that I met him. Just the way thoughts cross your mind, like, oh, this is such a good guy. I mean, and that was it. My papers were stamped and I went my way. Then now on that particular day that he was being introduced to me, I said he was not a new face, but of course now we were at a level of a boss and a junior. So we left. I remember we left the office. He looked for a place where I would sit, and the journey started. So I usually stay up to date everything that I ever knew from the initial stages of my career. I learned it from my husband, but then he was not yet my husband. So he taught me a lot. My husband is this kind gentleman who is very patient with people. So I would really bother him with questions, but he gladly helped me out. I was troubled by those analysis formulas and those the details that were there, the complex things about finance and all of that. But he was always patient with me. He never got tired to really help me out. So I learned to trust him. I learned to confide in him. I learned to, basically I found that most of the times that I would want to ask something, I went to him. I would want to talk to someone. I easily was, more, feeling more comfortable with him. Of course, as days went by, I also felt comfortable with the other employees in the department. But basically, my husband, Kenny, I'm not used to even calling him that, so it's such a struggle. He used to be this, kind and accommodative person. He made my first few days, which were full of anxiety and tension, become much easier. And that's how we started off. And at this point, all that was there was just an ordinary working relationship. Like, basically, this is my boss, this is the person I'm supposed to report to. And when he gives me work, I'm supposed to do it on time. Nothing crossed my mind that it would advance further than that. I mean, in my weirdest dreams, would I ever think that kuna siku, atawai nikatia? I never thought of it like you'd really ask me out. But I think as days went by, of course, I started realizing, but I think I was a bit naive then. I didn't really interpret it as like he was really interested with just being around me, because, you know, most of the times during lunch breaks, he would pass by my office and ask me if I'm going for lunch. And of course, I was still a student then, so sometimes I would not be having money for lunch. And then, of course, ningekuwa na njaa, but I choose to just tell him, I'm okay, I don't want to go for lunch. But in real sense, ni vile sikuwa na pesa ya like go for lunch. So he would insist sometimes, let's just go. Like, utoke tu nje, upigwe na hewa, I mean, you just relax, you know, because, you know, it's just not good for you to just remain in the office and then come back, start working again at 2. So sometimes I would comply, tunaendanisha. And then once we get to the cafeteria, guess what? He just buys lunch for me as well. So nilikula lunch kadhaa before the guy decided to like open his heart, kufungua roho, for me to know why these lunches were coming through like this. So after say like 2 or so like 2, it's like 7 or 8 weeks thereabouts. I remember that particular day that this conversation went to another level. We had a lot of work that day, and it happened that everyone else left the office and we were left back because we had something that we were working on and we needed to finish and hand over to the boss before we leave. So coincidentally, both of us were left in the office. So when we finished what we were doing, he offered to escort me home. So when we were on our way, he was escorting me to mahali nilikuwa naishi, to where I was living. And then along the way, he's like, by the way, why do you like leaving office so early? I mean, what do you go to do after work? Then I was like, okay, what kind of a question is this? Then I didn't really read in between nijue where he was headed to, but the next question came and it was like, okay, one of these evenings, why don't we just, you know, go somewhere and have some coffee? I was like, wow, okay, coffee. But still, I was, as I've mentioned, I was very, what do I say? Was I naive? I think I just didn't think about, you know, this relationship advancing to something like, you know, kukatiana and all of that. So I just thought, okay, just being the kind guy he is normally in the office, so could be just wants to go and buy me coffee. So of course I didn't say yes. I told him that I'll think about it, I'll see when we can do that. And I kept taking him around in circles. I remember one day he was like, hey, let's just go do coffee today. And when we left work that day, I didn't really have an excuse that particular day. So nikasema, let's just have this coffee. I mean, it's no big deal. Then so we went for coffee with him, and the very first coffee date was, you know, was memorable. It was amazing. You know, my husband is this kind of person who doesn't know how to beat around the bush. And on our very first date, he decided to go straight to the point that I thought this is so weird. He told me, this is the very first interaction, casual kind of interaction we had, because all I knew about him was work, you know, office work and all that. but I never got to hear about his personal life. And this is the first time I'm experiencing him I know he's telling me about his personal life. And that's when I knew most of, most of his, the most basic things. And this very same day, he tells me that he would want me to be his girlfriend. And trust me, I don't know, this just caught me, do I say by surprise, really? Because my mind was blank for a moment. I had learned to just treat him like a boss, and I didn't want to to imagine how it would feel like if I became his girlfriend. How would life be like after that? How would I carry on with my internship, because I had 1 month to go. And it was like, you're such an amazing girl that I've ever come across, and I would want you to be my girlfriend, and I would want you. Actually, the first day he said, I would want you to be my wife someday. And that time I'm thinking, wait, I was just in my early 20s. I'm just starting life. I'm not even thinking about being someone's wife. I was not even actually thinking about getting into a serious relationship. But things were going so fast, wheels were rolling and turning very fast, such that I was like, oh, wait. And I don't know whether he expected to get an answer the same day, because he was pausing and waiting to hear what I have to say. Then I told him, I'll have to think about it. I'll have to think about it and give you a feedback. But deep within me, I'm telling myself, no. I have to finish school. I've mentioned before, I think for most of you who have been watching my videos, I'm this kind of systematic person who is kind of programmed in a way that thinks this has to happen before this has to happen before this. So my mind was blocked to the idea of getting into a relationship before I even graduate. Yeah. So I just told him that I'll give him feedback, but I had said that I don't want to get into it at that point. Okay, so we are here. After the coffee date, of course, he escorted me back home. And I don't know, that night was a night with mixed reactions. I just want to be honest, I was sort of excited in a way. But at the same time, I didn't want to just make this decision so abruptly. I didn't want to get into a relationship before finishing my first degree and graduating. I was also shocked that this, the turn of things and how we had gotten to that point, because all that was in my mind was I would just have him as just my boss, and I would learn things from him. We would just be friends. I had not seen things take that direction of getting into a relationship with him. I was afraid of disappointing him. I was really afraid of what should be my next move. And I remember, because we used to live with another friend of mine who was, she's still my best friend. We used to live in the same house. She was my campus friend, and she used to be my roommate, I think better part of our campus life. So when I went back home that day, I just opened up to her and I was like, I have all this, cocktail of emotions because I'm not sure because, I narrated the entire story to her and she was like, okay, just take a day at a time. I was just nervous. I don't know. The following day was not so certain. I would carry myself out knowing that my boss had started developing interest in me in another angle. It was so funny. I mean, I didn't know how, if it would feel sort of weird to just relate with him at work. And I was certain that I'm not gonna give this feedback anytime soon. So of course, that bit of not being certain whether I'm gonna disappoint him or not. And yeah, I was just here. But the following day came, yes, we were back at work and things just ran as usual. And as I said, my husband happens to be this amazing man, this patient person. He is really, really graced with patience, which, he compliments me so well in it because I'm sort of impatient with people. So just to just give a back, just a review of where I had come from in terms of, praying about my husband to be. I started praying about my husband when I was in high school. Funny, when I was in high school, when I got born again and I started, thinking about my future. I was this person who had a strong admiration for functional marriages from when I was a little girl. I remember when we were in high school with my sister, we used to talk and fantasize about how our future husbands will be like. I know we were so young then, but I think this prepared us to, pray for the right life partners. We were brought up in a family where our parents were such role models. They had a fantastic married life. They modeled a perfect marriage to us, and from the onset, I was always like, God, when I grow up, just bless me with an amazing man for a husband. I used to dread to find myself in the wrong hands, dealing or associating with a person who is, not born again, who doesn't fear the Lord, who doesn't have value for family, who doesn't love me indeed. I was this girl, I used to, I'm a dreamer. I used to be this girl who would just think about how my husband will look like, how our relationship will look like, how my marriage will look like, how our children will look like. And I started praying for that from, that age of around 16 years. And as I was mentioning, my parents were these, best friends, amazing role models. I used to watch them, they used to work together. They were business people, so they used to work together. But when they come home after a long day, they would still find time to just sit and laugh about the day. We would go to bed and we still leave them laughing and chatting and just having fun. When Daddy used to travel for work, Mom used to really miss him. And they were just an amazing couple. So we used to look at them and really admire them. And I used to say that, God, this is what I desire. I just want to be happily married when that time comes. And so back to this story of the guy is now in the picture, a potential person. So I didn't want to really rush into a decision of saying yes or no. because I wanted to take time to pray about it, consult God, and I didn't want to make a rushed decision for sure. I wanted to have things flow in a systematic way. I know, of course, sometimes when you just get excited and you're just driven by emotions, you may end up making a decision pegged on emotions. So I didn't want to be in that space. I wanted to take time, and the minute I get committed to it, I didn't want to, I had seen my friends go through heartbreaks, and I was like, God, it's my desire, the relationship that I will get into, it's my desire that it goes all the way till married. I didn't want to just get into a relationship, commit myself into a relationship that would not end up in a marriage. I wanted to commit to something I knew was solid, and that's why I didn't want to rush and give him feedback. So good thing, as I mentioned earlier, he gave me time, he was patient with me. But along the way, of course, the days were moving by and I was almost finishing my internship. And when I had just a few 2 or 3 weeks left before I finished, he again asked me out for another coffee date. And this time I was a bit more cautious because I knew automatically he would want to know what my feedback was. And I didn't feel like I was ready with the feedback. And of course, we were not sure. I was not, of course, sure of once I finish my internship and leave. And, I was just in a space of uncertainty because I didn't know if I'll get a job and continue working in the same organization. So when we went for that coffee date, of course, he posed the question, and I was like, I'm still not ready. But he was like, oh, why? I've given you enough time to think about it. And I think he was sort of getting impatient, but I told him before I finished my internship, I'll have given him a feedback. So I, of course, promised him to, I'll have given him feedback by the time I'll be done with my internship. So I had time to, the 3 weeks or so to just, pray about it and really get an answer of peace from God. And thankfully, we, shortly before I even finished my internship, an opportunity came up and I applied for a job in that same organization, and we were called in for an interview, I think just a few days after the time that I was supposed to finish my internship. So I think in the middle of, I was supposed to be done with my internship, I'm preparing for an interview, and we somehow had sort of delay to meet up again for that conversation. So I had even more time to just think about it. And I did the interview, and I was successful, and I was given the opportunity to work as an assistant accountant in that same department. So that means we were here. I was not going anywhere. So of course, we continued being these good friends that we were. One of the things that I can attest to is, I had no any reservations as long as being friends was concerned. And being friends, we were these amazing friends. We would meet up, we would talk, we would chat. And yeah, so when I was now a confirmed employee, and because I got a job even before I graduated, then I think at that point I thought of, this is not, I was just not being coerced really. I'd prayed about it, I'd thought about it, and to be honest, from the very first day I interacted with my husband, I knew he is the one. Really, I didn't want to rush into telling him yes, just like any other girl would do. I wanted to take time to just not show him that I was excited. But from the onset, when I saw him, I was like, this guy is amazing. I wouldn't really mind to have him as my husband or even as my boyfriend those days. I knew that I would give him a chance. I knew that for the few days we had interacted, I had heard so much about his life, about him. He might have not have had so much by then, because he was also new in employment, but he had big dreams. He had big, he had a great vision. I know this guy was headed for greatness. From the onset, when I interacted with him, I just loved his spirit. He was this, and he's always been this amazing guy. And I knew that this is what I had prayed for. This is what I'd asked God to give me as a husband. I was just waiting for the confirmation from God, but deep within my spirit, I was at peace with the idea of giving him a chance to for us to do this. And so I remember that day when I was supposed to go, and we planned another date so that I get to give him feedback on what I thought. He was so excited. I have never seen this guy this excited. When I told him, yeah, when I said yes to being his girlfriend, he was over the moon. He was really excited that I had given him that opportunity. And I think one of the things that he told me that it was, he had imagined that since we had become friends, those few months or weeks I had worked, when I was doing my internship, he thought it would be a walkover for him when he came to ask me out. But he was very shocked and surprised that I took him round in circles. But I told him, cine life, this is how, there's nothing good that just comes just like that. I had to test his level of patience. I had to test his level of, to just see whether he really meant what he said. I didn't want him to, be in a position where he was just saying it for the sake of it. I wanted to be sure that he knew exactly what he wanted. And from that point, we started dating. And I remember one of the things that we told each other is we have to keep this as a secret, tutaifanyia chini ya maji kabisa, because we were working in the same department. We were both employees in the same organization, in the same department. And we didn't know the implications that this would have on our jobs if our bosses got to know that we were dating. So We used to appear very formal at the workspace and maybe plan for meetups over the weekend. And for some days, people didn't know that we were dating. I am so surprised that for some time tuliweza kuiweka like literally chini ya maji. No one really knew about it, not even our closest friends. But one day, babe alikuwa na like an appointment here, a dentist appointment in town, and then again we were supposed to meet up shortly after his appointment with the dentist. And I waited for him somewhere, and once he was done, we walked up. And I mean, something we had not foreseen happened that day. And I remember, we were just happy, excited. Those were the first days of our dating. And of course, we were holding hands, walking around town on the streets of Marytown. And we as we were walking, talking, and holding each other hands, guess who we come across? We bumped into our boss. Like, he just caught us. Like, there's no way we would have been able to fake that this didn't happen, or this was rather not happening. I mean, it's a situation where you're just caught pants down. And he just appeared, and he was there in front of us just smiling, and was like, oh, okay. So we were wondering, do we run? Do we scream? Do we shout? Because we have kept this under wraps, kabisa, like from everyone else. And the first person to ever find us together was our boss. The very person we dreaded the most. Quite jua like there's something like that happening. I mean, it was crazy. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to do, to be honest. For minutes, we just stood there, confused, not knowing what to do. But thank God we just brushed it off. And somehow I think he also decided to just, because he didn't even ask anything from that point. He didn't, like, because what we knew that the following Monday we would be called to his office, we would be lectured, we would be told things, and to be honest, nothing happened after that. Yeah, we just got away with it, and life just moved on. So I know we'll get to do this again with him, and I would also want to hear his version of his story. And I know even you guys who are watching this, you would want to hear his version, his side of this story. But I again, as being the cautious person I was, and we dated for 5 years, 5 good years after that date, when I said yes to him. So through these years, we got to know each other, because I didn't want to just commit to someone just like that. So these years, we spent the 5 years working on our relationships. Working on our friendship, because as I've always mentioned, friendship is the glue that holds marriage together. And how did I find out this is, as I've said, I always desired to have a functional marriage. So I equipped myself with books from Kitambo. I used to read books, and one of the books I had seen on the importance of working on friendship. And as we dated for 5 years, I know there are people who date for a shorter time. I do not disagree with them. Everyone's life and structure of doing things is different. There are people who have dated for a year or even less than a year, and they're happily married. Their marriage has worked. As we felt we needed time to work on our friendship, to further our studies, because we both needed to finish our master's degrees before we get into marriage. And then we needed more time to bond and to get to know each other and to plan and to save up. We didn't want to get into family life haphazardly just like that. So that's why we dated for a long time. I know sometimes it's very hard for doing I would say a long kind of dating period. Of course, it pre-exposes you to temptations along the way, but I thank God because He graced us all the way. And I am, up to now, I am always excited when I think about my proposal. And I remember that day I had finished my classes and Babe came to pick me up. So he was like, we're going somewhere, let's just go somewhere. And, we just loved doing road trips. And we just got into the car and just drove off. I didn't know he had planned with my friends and they were waiting for us somewhere. And when we got there, he just asked me to step down, and he was on his knee. When I was just turning around, just looking up back, he was on his knees proposing with a beautiful ring. I was so excited. That was the best day of my life. And I wish proposals were done more than once. I would wish to have another experience of a proposal. So basically that's how we met. And as they say, the rest is history. We are here 9 years later into marriage. And I am so grateful that God blessed me with such an amazing man. I am forever grateful to God for entrusting me with such an amazing man to do life with. I am happily married to him, and I look forward to many years together. And please, if you've not subscribed to this channel, make sure that you do so. Go right there right now and hit that button and subscribe. And as I've promised, I know I love to bring him here again on this platform so that we also get to hear his part of the story. And we have other amazing content lined up for you, so you can't afford to miss either of them. So please make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you share, make sure that you always put on that notification bell so that you don't miss out of any of the episodes. And it's always a joy to do this. Thank you so much. God bless you. Until next time. See you.